Hi, my name is Oyewale Oyediro, and I'm here to discuss a paper titled CamShield Securing Smart Cameras Through Physical Replication and Isolation. I'm doing this as part of my coursework for CS6263 at Georgia Tech. I'd like to acknowledge the authors of this paper, Ziwei Wang, Yui Yan, Yueli Yan, and Zeiss Yang of School of Information Science and Technology at Shanghai Tech University, as well as Wang Zhongchen of the Huawei Theory Lab. The objectives of this paper review are highlighted briefly here. I intend to go over the background of this research work, discussing the whole ideas around the security and privacy concerns of surveillance cameras that are pretty much everywhere thanks to how relatively cheap they are, and also the fact that they are easily compromised by malicious actors. It's proven over the years. I also intend to discuss some of the specific problem areas that CamShield attempts to solve. It focuses primarily on region of interest based privacy protection, isolation as a means of mitigating privacy concerns. I intend to discuss some of the implementation details, the analysis of their results, and discuss some of their conclusions. It's quite important to discuss why we have this problem area in the first place. And a lot of this is central to the ubiquity of smart cameras all around us. They're relatively small, thanks to Moore's law and how easy it is to deploy low cost microchips. They are embedded all around us. They're quite convenient. Uh, Due to an interaction of all these elements, we find them all around us because consumers have decided that it's important to monitor the things that are important to them. So this is at both the individual level and in commercial institutions as well. It's also important to talk about the fact that the operating systems that power all of these devices are often left unmaintained by owners of these devices. It's not unusual to find lots of smart cameras running outdated operating systems, missing a lot of security patches. This leaves them very, very vulnerable to malicious actors to take over them, compromise them, and this presents a lot of challenges to owners, to government, to institutions all around us because privacy concerns are pretty much very important to us. I present the CamShield architecture. The short summary of CamShield is essentially a bolt-on hardware device. It's highlighted in red in the diagram presented. This device is pretty much bolted on top of your legacy traditional security cameras. So it pretty much blocks out the camera under protection from sensing anything else in the environment other than what CamShield presents to it. So you can pretty much summarize it as CamShield senses the environment, takes a video stream from the environment. It provides some protection on top of this, which we will discuss as time goes. Then it passes this video stream directly onto the traditional smart camera, and this is sent over traditional IP protocols that are used by any security camera. and this is previewed on the mobile app that CamShield also provides. The CamShield architecture provides the mobile app presented also has the ability to decrypt the encrypted and encoded video stream. So some of the key goals of CamShield is to maintain existing functionality of the cameras protected. Modern camera providers provide a lot of extra functionality on top of them. So not just for you to be able to see the video stream, but to get alerted on things like motion detection, facial detection, and all of these are quite important to consumers. CamShield aims to maintain compatibility with all these special features that users want. CamShield also intend to secure video streams, so provide end-to-end encryption. So you can just say CamShield assumes that malicious actors can have complete takeover of existing smart cameras that you install, and that should not compromise the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of the video stream over them for the user. CamShield aims to do this by maintaining complete physical isolation from these cameras that it protects. So even though it sits right beside it, it's not connected by any network connection, any physical connection that could allow it be vulnerable to takeover. So we're going to discuss some of the focus areas that CamShield specializes in. So the first important bit is that CamShield provides something called region of interest based visual privacy protection. It's quite important for users that some components, some aspects of video streams that are being transmitted via their security cameras are protected. These items vary from user to user. It could be faces, it could be specific artifacts, it could be environments, and all of this mean that it's quite difficult to provide generic areas of videos that are important to all users. So CamShield provides for allowing the users to specify the regions, specifying what exactly is important to them, and allowing these areas to be protected as part of video transmission. So this pretty much means that custom specific areas, for example, in diagram provided, in this case, it's the faces. This user wants to protect faces from being identified by maybe malicious users or anyone that can have complete takeover of these vulnerable cameras. So what CamShield aims to achieve by doing this is pretty much to encrypt these areas of the video, transfer them over the network, such that when malicious actors take over this system, if someone has a way of tapping into this video stream, for example, what they would have would be the video without the faces on them for this user. So so this is also achieved by having shared keys between the camera, that's the CamShield device that's bolted on top of the camera, and the mobile app the user that's being used by the user to actually view the video stream. And only anyone with knowledge of that key can access the faces on top of these videos, or to be more general, the specific tiles that have been encrypted. Another focus area for CamShield is screen to camera channel. So CamShield uses a technique called visible light communication to pretty much encode information, in this case video frames, into a QR code like image that can be projected onto, that can be transferred via visible light. So in this case, this blurry colored QR code like image pretty much represents a frame of a video, and it's encoded each way. In this case, each pixel in this image represents the color of that pixel visible in real life. So this could be encrypted, for example, with a specific shared key, and this QR code like image is then projected onto a screen that is directly facing the camera under protection. So this technique is used to as a means of communicating, of transferring actual video onto a camera that is under protection. Let's look at the implementation details here. So CamShield consists of hardware. So this hardware consists of a visual sensor. So this is pretty much like the sensor you will find on typical security cameras. This sensor senses video, converts them to frames of images, passes them onto a processing unit that are pretty much a processor that's able to perform some logical computations on top of them. So this allows us to be able to implement custom features like region of interest detection, facial detection. It's also responsible for encrypting specific parts of the pixels that needs to be encrypted according to policies defined. The processing unit is also responsible for encoding the video stream into the screen, into the QR code like stream that is then projected onto the camera under protection, which is described here as the sync camera. Because of the closeness, the close proximity of CamShield with the camera under protection, it's important to add a lens that forces the camera to focus on the screen provided by CamShield. So all of this is pretty much bundled into a 3D printed casing. So it's just pretty much just one object that is placed in front of the camera under protection. So CamShield also implements a visible light communication protocol, which I mentioned earlier. So this describes sort of the data path of information across CamShield, what it pretty much look like. So the image, the video frames, pretty much one image is encoded as a matrix of pixels. In this case, each matrix element represents the color of a specific pixel, and this is projected onto the screen of the camera under protection. So it pretty much provides for a secure one-way communication. So unless, which is also one of the assumptions the authors of this paper made, unless someone physically removes the CamShield device from the camera under protection, there's only a one-way communication across the video network here. Yeah. So after encoding, it's also important to be able to securely transfer this video stream from the camera over the internet to the user in this case. So CamShield supports ROI-based encryption. ROI is region of interest. So letting the user decide what parts need to be encrypted. In this example, it's pretty much faces. So specific tiles containing specific frames as defined by policy specified by the user is encrypted by a shared symmetric key. So we can just, CamShield just makes the assumption that only the, for example, that the app, the CamShield itself comes with a security key, probably written on a piece of paper, sealed together with the camera, such that only who has the camera has the security key, and they're able to pass the security key into the mobile app to be able to authenticate communication between the mobile app and CamShield. So you can pretty much describe that as trusted initialization between CamShield hardware and the app. It uses pretty much the standard HEVC encoding protocol to replace pixels that contains encrypted video and add its custom pixels into them. They're encoded, and this information is transferred via the traditional camera networks, pretty much in this case, maybe the internet. And the CamShield mobile app has a HVC player that is able to play videos in the HVC format. It's able to identify pixels that have been encrypted by just checking the frame headers of each frame of video, decrypting them with a shared key, and presenting them to the user. So the user is able to see the raw video that was captured by CamShield. So it's a pretty much end-to-end video delivery network here. CamShield also provides for region of interest policy configuration. So in this case, CamShield allows the user to specify what areas they want to capture. In this case, is it text, is it body, is it face, whatever it is. I guess the question that pops up is, since CamShield pretty much supports one-way communication just from CamShield towards the camera under protection, how do we provide this this policy configuration to CamShield? So CamShield takes advantage of the fact that it has a camera lens, and you can actually talk to CamShield by providing the mobile app provides for QR code based configuration information. So it encodes the policy as part of a QR code, which the user is able to present into the viewfinder of CamShield's camera. It does have like a handshake protocol for exchanging information between the two, and I guess it's able to secure this communication because we assume that the mobile app user and the CamShield have a pre-shared symmetric key that's able to use to verify the authenticity of the message that it's receiving as from the owner. So CamShield app pretty much sends an hello message to the CamShield device. The CamShield device recognizes this message because it's signed with a shared secret, and once he sends a nonce back, CamShield app is then able to send the configuration information alongside the nonce to verify it comes from it via the QR code, and that updates the ROI policy on CamShield. So this diagram just demonstrates a summary of the a CamShield installation. So from the diagram, there's power supply going to CamShield, and this shows the full casing of CamShield, which pretty much contains the processing unit, the sensors, power supply connection, LEDs and things like that, and it's physically bolted on top of the lens of the camera under protection. So the mobile app itself, so CamShield also provides for a mobile app to view the streamed video from CamShield. So the mobile app pretty much supports any video stream based on the RSTP streaming protocol, able to stream frame by frame. This app is responsible for decoding the visible light encoded video. It's able to decrypt region of interest that have been encrypted and also render the video stream. It can identify frames that have pixels that have been encrypted by looking at the header of the HEVC encoded video and rendering them and decrypting them with the symmetric key that is shared between them. So let's discuss some of the results from CamShield. So we look at some of the common attacks that happens to security cameras, that are the attacks that are done on security cameras, and see how CamShield mitigates them. I guess the very common attack is pretty much video manipulation attacks, whereby we assume that someone else has taken over the actual camera under protection, perhaps because the keys were not changed or the password and things like that were not changed, and someone gets the VLC encoded video from CamShield and modifies it in some form of way, then sends the information and retransmits it back over the network. This is mitigated by integrity checks from the encryption that has been the encryption has been done by CamShield itself. So the mobile app is able to verify that the frames have been manipulated, and you can notify the user and discard such videos. Video replay attacks as well. So maybe someone understands that, okay, they can't take over the camera, they just replay they record a previous scene and replay it back by putting those videos on top of CamShield. This can be mitigated because CamShield app can verify the timestamps of the replayed video that's being broadcasted, and once he can see is out of sync, then he notifies the user as well. There's also the multi-device colluding attack, whereby, for example, you want to a malicious user is trying to update the iWrite configuration by maybe placing the TV with QR code in front of CamShield to deceive CamShield into updating his iWrite policy. But this is mitigated by the nonce check as part of the handshake protocol in updating configuration from the mobile app. So because the nonce is not signed by the key, CamShield can discard such attacks. So some simple compatibility analysis here. So CamShield aims to maintain compatibility with standard offerings of smart cameras. So maybe scene detection and facial detection, motion detection. So CamShield actually provides very, very high confidence rate results presented below with respect to CamShield identifying the typical scenes that you would find from existing smart camera offerings. Yeah, generally demonstrating confidence level above 50%. It's also able to identify tags as part of video, faces, body with a very high degree of accuracy. So CamShield, the conclusion of the authors of this paper are that bolting on an isolated, fully functional copy of an original sensing device will help mitigate some of the security and privacy issues that come with the deployment and use of smart cameras. Yeah, so I present the reference to the paper that was reviewed here. Thank you very much for listening.